All of our students, all staff, all people deserve to live in an environment where they can come to school and go to work free of these kinds of threats.
A scary day for students and staff at a Toronto Jewish school. A bomb threat prompting an urgent response from police. We'll have that story shortly.
Good evening. But first, to the growing concern around Toronto's winter shelter plan for the homeless population.
Advocates giving the city a failing grade when it comes to supports for those in need. CTV's Allison Hurst has been following this story and joins us live with more. Allison.
This advocacy group says that the city's winter plan is inadequate, and they're calling on them to open up hundreds of shelter beds for this winter. As the temperature drops, there's urgent concern for those living outside.
The city's winter plan is and has always been atrociously inadequate.
Advocates are giving the city's plan for Toronto's homeless population a failing grade, saying shelters are dangerously crowded and hundreds of beds are needed immediately.
There's still hundreds of people every night sleeping outside, unable to access an indoor shelter space.
Lynn is one of them, a 2-year resident of Allen Gardens encampment.
I've had frostbite most of this month. And it's tingly and it burns and it's hard to live with.
This year's winter plan includes up to 180 new shelter spaces, warming centers that open when temperatures dip to -5, and a 24-hour respite site.
I'm willing to consider other changes, but that's what I've done so far.
This advocacy group wants to see the city adopt their plan of expanding capacity for access to safe indoor spaces, ensuring dignified and humane city responses, promoting survival for people in encampments, intervening in the financialization of housing, and implementing measures that work to increase housing security and stability.
And we still need the $200 million to deal with the existing refugees that are already in our shelter. It is going to be, if nothing happens, I foresee a very difficult winter.
The influx in refugee and asylum seekers has been a contributing factor to crowded shelters across the GTA, and many of them have also been forced to sleep outside. Wednesday morning, an asylum seeker was found dead in a tent outside a Mississauga shelter.
And when I got the news of a fatality yesterday, my heart broke, it sunk.
Officials say it's a wake-up call to other levels of government that this could happen again without support.
We have been calling for a greater investment into solutions. And there's been some support, but we know there's going to be a lot more death without that full commitment in terms of ensuring that no one is sleeping on the street.
The City of Toronto's winter plan started on Wednesday. The mayor says that she is open to considering changes, but that she has to work within the budget and that $1.5 billion deficit. Meanwhile, the advocacy group, though, says that the former mayor's budget is not a reason to not take action. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. Now to the threat made against a Toronto Jewish school. It happened at the Tannenbaum Community Hebrew Academy of Toronto just before the lunch hour.
It turned out to be a hoax, but it caused an evacuation of the entire facility. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live from the school on Wilmington Avenue with more details. Mike.
Well, Nathan, Michelle, the threat was made in an email sent to school administrators, and even though Toronto police say it doesn't appear the threat to be substantiated, it has left the entire community here on edge. A significant police presence at the Tannenbaum Community Hebrew Academy of Toronto. A bomb threat prompting the school to be evacuated. Officers can be seen directing students off school property.
You go through a moment of shock. But within seconds, we were on the phone with 911. That is our procedure.
In a letter to parents, the school says it received the threat at 11:15 this morning. The head of the school says a message claimed explosive devices had been planted in its facilities.
Nobody deserves to have that. And it is scary and it is worrisome that this has been happening and that this is escalating. All of our students, all staff, all people deserve to live in an environment where they can come to school and go to work free of these kinds of threats.
A nearby daycare was also evacuated. Roads around the area were closed while police conducted a sweep of the school, which included the K-9 unit. Investigators say they didn't find anything of concern.
We've checked through thoroughly and we're confident that there's nothing in there to be worried about at this time.
As a community, we are incredibly upset and outraged that these kinds of anti-Semitic events continue to take place.
This is the second incident involving a threat at the school since the Israel-Hamas war broke out.
Tragically, this is an escalating problem for the Jewish community. Hate is on the rise, and it's just obscene that young people trying to go to school have to be evacuated because of a bomb threat targeting them just because they're Jews.
Mayor Olivia Chow addressing the threat.
Anti-Semitism is not acceptable. Children, teenagers, teachers, and education workers should be able to attend school without fear of violence.
This incident comes a day after the Jafari Community Center in Vaughan was evacuated due to a bomb threat. York Regional Police conducted a search of the Islamic Community Center and Mosque near Bathurst and 16th Avenue and say no threat was found. Vaughan's mayor spoke with community members.
Hard to know what's real, what's not real, really disturbing and horrific images. I think people are hurting. I think that York Regional Police, again, is doing a fantastic job.
York Police says its hate crime unit has been notified as police continue to investigate. The Jafari Community Center said it takes all security threats seriously and is actively monitoring the situation. Toronto Police says its cybercrime unit will continue to investigate this latest incident. In the meantime, police will continue increased patrols around synagogues, mosques, faith-based schools, and community centers. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Also tonight, it's the largest cocaine and meth bust in Toronto history. $90 million worth of illegal drugs taken off the streets. But how much impact will this really have? That's coming up.
Let's get to it right now. This massive drug bust, the largest of its kind in Toronto police history.
Officers put the huge haul on display today, but tonight there are questions about the dent this will actually make in the street drug market. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us live from Toronto Police Headquarters with the story. Beth.
Nathan, I spoke with one expert who's been looking at this issue for years. He says if we were seeing an impact from drug busts on the drug market, we would be seeing a decline in overdose deaths, but we're seeing an increase. In all, the drugs seized weigh more than 990 kilograms and have a street value of $90 million. Towering on the table and floor, blocks upon blocks of packaged cocaine and dozens of bags of crystal methamphetamine.
It is the single largest seizure of crystal methamphetamine and powder cocaine in the history of the Toronto Police Service.
This October, after a 3.5-month investigation, members of the Toronto Police Organized Crime Enforcement Drug Squad and Organized Crime Task Force executed several search warrants, along with an interception at the border. 7 people, all from the GTA, face numerous trafficking charges. Officers say the people arrested are alleged to be runners or high-level runners of the illegal drugs in criminal organizations. Police say drugs like this come from the south into Canada from the U.S. and were destined for the streets of Toronto and beyond. Their presence would inflict significant damage from a public safety standpoint and to those suffering from addictions.
I'm going to suggest that this is all high-level purity, and to your point, it would be added later. So we know that crystal, cocaine, mixed with fentanyl, other opioid analogs, et cetera, that's where the toxicity comes in. And that's where the danger to our public lies.
We have seen no relationship between these drug busts and the actual contaminants and opioids and other drugs that are circulating in the drug market.
Dan Werb questions where the evidence is on busts making a difference in the drug market. For years, he's done work evaluating the impact of Toronto's drug checking service, which studies what's in street drugs.
The more pressure you impose on the market, the more the market accelerates and innovates to avoid that pressure. You know, we've seen a legal drug market that shifted from heroin to fentanyl. Fentanyl is, magnitudes more potent.
Werb says it goes beyond police to end the overdose crisis, arguing the government has a responsibility to regulate the market and take it away from drug trafficking organizations. Police say of the people charged, 2 remain in custody, 5 are out on bail. Police also say they seized a firearm, a vehicle, and $95,000 in cash. Reporting live outside Toronto Police Headquarters, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Coming up, rolling out the TTC's new streetcar fleet. Dozens of shiny new rides coming down the pipeline. What riders can expect just ahead.
Let's take a live look outside on this Friday night. The rain's moved out in most places, but it's breezy and noticeably cooler out there. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions, and we knew a change was coming.
We did, Nathan. I'm going to remind you of the fact that we were at 14 degrees at the noon hour today. Well, wait until you see what we're at now. First, here's a look at the rain that has moved on out. We're clearing behind it, but we've also got some breezy winds coming from the northwest, and that's a change from the last couple of days. Of course, northerly air often means cooler air. Right now, temperature-wise, we're at 7 degrees in Niagara Falls, 2 in Barrie, and as we zoom closer into the GTA, you'll notice that it's only 5 now in the city of Toronto, and we're forecasting an overnight low near 0 tonight. But there's some good news when it comes to the weekend. We're going to take you through the forecast coming up. For now, though, Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. The changes coming down the track for people who rely on the TTC.
A new fleet of streetcars and some good news could be coming for anyone hit with double fares while transferring to transit outside of Toronto. Our Natalie Johnson joins us live with the details. Natalie.
Well, Michelle, 60 new streetcars are coming to Toronto, a significant boost to the size of the fleet and ideally reliability. The first vehicle hit the tracks today. For anyone who's ever waited for a streetcar in the November rain, a bigger fleet can't come soon enough.
Streetcars are really unreliable.
It's a hit or miss. You either get one or you wait half an hour for one.
Sometimes I have to wait 20 minutes and it would be shorter to walk probably.
But today, the first of 60 new streetcars went into service, with officials promising improved reliability for riders.
These new streetcars are high capacity. That means a faster and more comfortable commute for the people of Toronto. And those seats look so clean and comfy.
The $568 million in joint funding was announced 2 years ago. Now the new streetcars are rolling in. A small step forward for a city waiting on billions in transit funding for everything from new Line 2 subway cars to a dedicated busway along the Scarborough RT corridor, a waterfront LRT line, and more.
We have lots of plan because as the city grows, the public transit system also grows.
Meanwhile, a new TTC report recommends that the Transit Corp sign on to a fare integration plan with the province that would eliminate double fares for customers transferring between the TTC, GO Transit, and other GTA transit systems by early next year.
The province will be 100% subsidizing the difference between the one fare between different transit agencies, so absolutely. We're looking forward to that. We believe this will happen by February.
If approved by the board, it will make for fewer fares for Toronto Transit riders as they board those shiny new streetcars. And the rest of those 60 new streetcars will be delivered over the course of the next 2 years, bringing the full fleet total to 264. Reporting live, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan, over to you.
All right, thanks, Natalie. And Metrolink is sharing an update on work to improve and enhance a key transit hub downtown. Exhibition Stadium is undergoing significant upgrades to serve as a link between the future Ontario line and the existing GO train network. While that work involves disruptions in construction in the area, Metrolink says the new interchange could reduce crowding inside Union Station by 14% during rush hour.
An important heads up this evening for parents and anyone else looking to register someone for winter recreation programs. The city has published the full list of its general skate and swim programs on offer, as well as details on March break camps. There are more than 10,000 registered courses for all ages. They don't start up until January 8th, but if you'd like to prepare for registration, it will take place December 5th and 6th, depending on where you live. An Ontario court case is looking into allegations of corruption within the tow truck industry.
An OPP constable is on trial accused of bribery and breach of trust. CTV's John Woodward is live at the University Avenue Courthouse with the details. John.
Nathan, Constable Simon Bridle was one of several officers arrested about 2 years ago and charged with bribery and breach of trust. Allegations all centered on how he handed out lucrative tows at the side of the highway 401.
I tend to concentrate mainly on the high milers and the stunts.
That's Ontario Provincial Police Constable Simon Bridle, himself facing a police interrogation. Bridle worked for years patrolling the 407 highway, but was arrested with several other officers accused of being caught in the corruption related to the GTA's cutthroat tow truck industry.
You used your position as a police officer for reasons other than not in the interest of the common good.
Bridle accused of accepting $52,000 in payments for a pickup truck given to him by tow truck operator Steve Pillay, who was often featured in the reality TV show Heavy Rescue 401 on Discovery, which, like CTV News, is a division of Bell Media.
You never know, what you're going to get into.
Bridle told the OPP in the interview he had a deal to pay Pillay back. Crown attorney Jason Nichols said that was a lie, adding Steve Pillay and Steve Pillay alone was going to pay for the truck, which was a small price to pay for the profit he was reaping for his company's interaction with the accused at the side of the road. Bridle's lawyer Danielle Cunningham told the court Bridle didn't play favorites and was actually doing his best to be fair to the tow companies because he wasn't getting any help in that from his superiors. Other officers clearly sent more business to Pillay, including Bindo Showen, who pleaded guilty last year. But Cunningham said after the truck changed hands, Bridle's choice of tow companies didn't change. If there's some kind of nefarious kickback with this truck and the whole concept is he's feeding tows, why doesn't that number change? Why? Because Mr. Bridle is routine, that's why. On the stand, Bridle insisted the repayment deal was real and said he thought he was just taking advantage of a good deal on a truck, saying, "It's church and state. Just because I and other officers purchase vehicles doesn't change how we work professionally on the highway. I don't feel any debt to him. If you think I would risk my employment, my pension, my benefits, and my reputation for a good deal on a third-hand truck, then you're mistaken." Hardly the only set of crimes related to the GTA's troubled tow truck industry that has attracted organized crime, arsons, and even murder. The provincial government has changed tow rules, hoping to stamp out corruption.
There's a lot of money to be made, not just in the tow, but where these vehicles go afterwards to these body shops, where the tow truck drivers are receiving a commission.
Whether Bridle will be found guilty is up to Justice Lowe. As for Steve Pillay, who's alleged to have paid for that truck, the Crown said the charges against him have been withdrawn. Reporting live from 361 University, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
All right, thank you, John. A hard dose of reality from a new report on the finances of Ontario's colleges and universities, while the Ford government has boasted about keeping tuition low for students.
That may have to change as early as next fall to give schools a chance to survive. Our Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris explains.
Earlier this year, a government-appointed panel was tasked with taking a look at the finances of colleges and universities. They're out with their report now. They find that years of restraint have taken their toll, and it's going to take a concerted effort to right the ship. The panel is urging the government and students to dig deeper to rescue a system at serious risk. In 2019, tuition fees were cut by 10% and have been frozen ever since. To help close a fiscal gap, the panel recommends a 5% tuition bump next September, then annual increases of 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is higher.
With the current economic status, I think that would just be an additional burden on students unnecessarily.
I think government should take on more responsibilities in that matter. It really shouldn't be on the students.
The panel agrees Queen's Park should be pitching in more, highlighting that government funding here is lower than in any other part of the country.
Ontario's per-student funding is just 44% for college students and 57% for university students.
The panel calls for a 10% funding increase to colleges and universities to catch up with inflation, then at least 2% more each year going forward. But the government isn't ready to sign any checks.
I have been clear that institutions will also need to review their spending and operating practices for any increase in funding to be considered.
The panel warns if the government doesn't act, universities and colleges in particular will have to lean more heavily on international students. There aren't necessarily enough supports and housing for them, and those students pay much higher tuition.
It gives me more stress and anxiety since my parents need to work a lot harder than the others for me to stay in the school. That obviously affects my general performance in class.
The Minister of Colleges and Universities is reviewing the panel's report. It's not clear when she might have an answer on next steps. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
In the Middle East, Gaza health authorities say more than 12,000 people have died since the war began, 5,000 of them children.
There was also heartbreak in Israel, where a funeral was held for one of the hostages taken in the October 7th Hamas attack. CTV's Vanessa Lee reports.
Abducted by Hamas terrorists. Today, Israeli soldier Corporal Noah Marciano was laid to rest. Her body was found near the Al-Shifa hospital. She was just 19 years old. Her mother says, "We're asking for your forgiveness. You protected us, but we failed in protecting you." Israel says 239 people are still being held hostage, including Emily Hand, who should be celebrating her 9th birthday with family.
We were hoping that she would be back by now. That would have been our prayers answered.
Israeli troops are meticulously searching Gaza's largest hospital for the 3rd day in a row, after releasing this video showing a tunnel shaft they say leads to a Hamas command post under the complex.
And this is where they choose to hide everything.
Hamas and medical officials are denying the claims. The United Nations is calling on Israel to allow their teams in to investigate. The U.S. is confident there are tunnels under the hospital.
So this is one of the monstrous practices that Hamas engages in.
Aid agencies say starvation in Gaza is imminent. They had to stop deliveries of food and basic necessities today when internet and phone services collapsed because of a lack of fuel. Israel has agreed to allow some fuel in after a request from Washington. The World Health Organization says it is worried about the spread of disease in Gaza, home to more than 2 million people. It's estimated 70% of the population is drinking contaminated water. Vanessa Lee, CTV News, Montreal.
At the APEC summit, Prime Minister Trudeau suggested what is happening in Gaza is impeding the ability of Israel to see a long-term stable solution.
Canada is extremely concerned about the number of civilian casualties in Gaza, both because the loss of life is heartbreaking to see, but also because the pathway towards a secure, viable, independent Jewish state alongside a secure, viable, independent Palestinian state is getting more difficult with all the hardship that Palestinians are going through.
Trudeau added the Israeli hostages being held by Hamas must be released and there must be justice for what the terrorists have done.
The cost to fund electric vehicle battery plants in Canada is going to be a lot more than projected. The parliamentary budget officer says it will be nearly $6 billion more. The money represents foregone corporate income tax revenues for the federal, Ontario, and Quebec governments. It relates to recent deals with various companies to build EV battery plants in Canada.
The federal government is honoring Canada's only all-black battalion to serve during the First World War.
And the stories of these men are worth retelling as often as we can because they remind us. They remind us of our history, and they teach us lessons. And as we reflect upon the discrimination that was faced by these members of the battalion, we can learn from the errors of the past and do better. And in doing better, become better ourselves.
Ottawa is spending $2.25 million for commemorative activities, education materials, and community war memorials. Last year, Prime Minister Trudeau issued a formal apology to the descendants of the battalion. He said the 600 members faced systemic anti-black racism before, during, and long after the war.
Imagine sinking hundreds of thousands of dollars into a home renovation and then being told it's not yours and needs to be returned to the previous owner. W5's Avery Haynes reports on a case making its way through the courts in Nova Scotia.
Ian and Lorna Tenniswood fix up old homes for a living and spent months restoring this one-of-a-kind house to its former glory.
We budgeted around $250,000 and we sank $600. This was a massive mistake.
They were originally hired to work on the Hampton house and sued the owner when he refused to pay a final $10,000 bill. After 2 years of non-payment, the house went up for auction in 2021, and the Tenniswoods had the winning bid of $50,000.
Does anybody have a pulse here? Does anybody do math? I paid you to fix my house. Now I'm fighting for my house?
Former owner Mehdi Matten, a New York artist, said he was never notified by the sheriff conducting the auction that his home was being sold.
How are you going to sell a $500,000 house, put it up for $50,000 without telling the guy?
When the Tenniswoods finished their renovation and tried to sell the home, the government of Nova Scotia issued a freeze and launched a lawsuit saying it needed to be returned to the previous owner because of errors made by their own sheriff at auction. Mike McKenzie is the Tenniswoods lawyer.
It's a very novel argument to say, Judge, we've done everything wrong, but we want you to find that they've done it wrong because we gave them the wrong advice. The Tenniswoods did nothing wrong.
This house represented a big dream for you guys.
Yeah.
How do you view the house now?
We hate it. I hate it.
I know, so do
It's a prison of our own making.
Yeah.
The Tenniswoods are now broke, occasionally living in this 32-foot trailer because their only source of income is to rent out the Hampton house while they fight the province's attempts to take it away. Avery Haynes, CTV News, Hampton, Nova Scotia.
That wasn't the only mistake allegedly made by that sheriff's department. You can watch the haunted Hampton house on W5 tonight at 10.
He is a known lover of weed, a rapper often seen in a cloud of smoke. But could those days be done? Snoop Dogg's big surprising life change coming up.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, it's the latest device that promises it can give you radiant, beautiful, flawless skin, but it looks like a high-tech Halloween mask. Can this glowing face mask really make you look younger, and is it safe to use? I'll have that story just ahead.
Lots to look forward to this weekend. Santa Claus is coming to many towns around the GTA for parades this weekend. He's got an especially busy schedule on Saturday. Meanwhile, Sunday is Grey Cup Sunday, and if you're headed to Hamilton, you can expect pretty decent weather conditions overall, although I think you're going to want to bring the winter jacket for game time. It is a not bad looking weekend forecast. Next week is going to look and feel a lot more like November. We'll take you through the 7-day coming up, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
There's a new skin treatment that's taken off in popularity recently because, in part, to it being showcased on social media platforms.
It's the LED face mask. The technology is used in medical offices, but now you can buy the masks to use in your own home. Pat Foran has the story on Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, it's a face mask that uses different light therapies and promises it can treat your skin to reduce signs of aging and acne and give you a glowing complexion. So is it the future of skincare or a waste of money? Consumer Reports finds out. These stormtrooper-like masks promise to give your skin a glow that's out of this world. But can these LED face masks really be the force behind healthier and more radiant skin?
LED therapy will work interacting with the skin at different levels, stimulating metabolism, the production of collagen and elastic fibers, and also, in case of the blue light, as an antibacterial.
The masks are gaining favor because you no longer have to be in a medical office. You can use them to get skincare treatment from the comfort of home. These LED face masks are popular on social media. They sell for as low as $50 to as much as $2,000. But do they really work, and are they safe to use? As for the exact benefits, it depends on the type of light.
The red light is typically used for anti-aging. Blue light is used to treat acne.
While LED light therapy is safe in the short term, there's less research about its long-term safety. Always take proper precautions, including wearing eye protection and following directions.
Follow the manufacturer's instructions and use it only for the recommended amount of time. LED masks are overall pretty safe, and many are cleared by the FDA.
But there are some people that are not good candidates.
People that have photosensitivity, either because they have a disease such as lupus or because they are taking certain medications.
And the results might take time and be subtle, so keep in mind patience and consistency are key if you plan to use one. Again, if you do use an LED mask, follow the instructions carefully. And if you have specific skincare concerns, it's always a good idea to speak with a dermatologist to get their advice. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, you won't need a weird-looking mask to get a nice dose of light this weekend. We do have some sunshine on tap.
Yeah, maybe a toque instead. It's going to be a little chilly. I'm thinking Grey Cup weekend for those who are going to be sitting outside.
Definitely. And you know, this weekend, if we hadn't just had several days of temperatures in the mid-teens, I'd say this weekend's looking beautiful, and it technically is. We are going to experience seasonal temperatures and some bright skies. Finished now is the rainfall for tonight, but we're still dealing with falling temperatures and, yes, breezy winds out of the north. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. There should just be a couple of lingering sprinkles around the GTA, but that's it. The rain has moved off to the south and to the east. There was a little bit of snow in Quebec, courtesy of this system. It was ahead of and along the cold front that we had all that active weather. Now behind it, clearer skies, cooler temperatures, and those winds might even lead to a little bit of lake effect shower or flurry activity in some areas. But first, there's midday tomorrow. It's looking great, mainly sunny skies. Overnight and into early Sunday, just want to point out the possibility around Georgian Bay in through eastern sections of Ontario. These are very isolated showers or flurries that could develop. Might see a band extend toward the GTA as we head into the daytime hours on Sunday, but this shouldn't be anything significant, and further clearing is expected as the day goes on. Clear skies, but a cold night ahead for Sunday going into Monday, and that's going to make for a chilly start to next week. It is currently 5 degrees in the city of Toronto. Overnight tonight, we're expected to drop to a low near 0. As for what's in store tomorrow morning, it is going to be a little bit cool to start things off. Mainly sunny skies, though. A seasonal day, daytime high of 7 here in Toronto. That's where we expect to be at this time of year. And the 7-day forecast looks like this. Looking ahead to next week, rain on Tuesday, cooler conditions for Wednesday and Thursday of next week. And yes, maybe even the possibility of a few wet flurries those days as well. That's your look at the weather. The $2.6 million early bird prize deadline in the Princess Margaret Home Lottery is midnight tonight. Just imagine escaping it all at this stunning lakefront cottage in Muskoka, which comes with $100,000 cash. There are over 20,000 exciting prizes to win, valued at more than $18 million, including the $8.3 million grand prize featuring an incredible show home in Oakville, an all-electric BMW, plus $500,000 in cash, a stunning $2.3 million Niagara-on-the-Lake grand prize with a show home and $100,000 cash, a charming $2.2 million grand prize with a show home in Georgian Bay, and $100,000 cash, plus exciting electric vehicles, exotic vacations, and more. You can also win big cash prizes with the 50/50 and Cash Calendar add-ons. Every ticket gives you a chance to win life-changing prizes and helps fund life-saving cancer research at the Princess Margaret. Get your tickets today at princessmargaretlotto.com or by calling 1-866-631-1234. Michelle, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, dozens of the city's business and community leaders took part in the Covenant House Executive Sleep Out overnight. It saw participants go to bed outside with only sleeping bags and cardboard as shelter. Those execs also put together care packages and went on a tour of Covenant House before hitting the streets. The event raised more than $1.2 million in support of homeless and other vulnerable youth.
Also tonight, capturing the bond between rescue dogs and their LGBTQ2S+ owners, as one of Toronto's top photographers marks Trans Awareness Week. That's coming up. The entertainment world is buzzing over a post from Snoop Dogg saying he's giving up smoke.
But what exactly he means by that is unclear. Here's our health reporter, Pauline Chan, with more.
Snoop Dogg is a superstar on the rap music scene, but he's almost as well known for his promotion of weed. So it was a surprise when he posted this on X. After much consideration and conversation with my family, I've decided to give up smoke. Please respect my privacy at this time. The announcement, which was posted yesterday, has got a lot of reaction, including a lot of disbelief.
I'm not sure if it's real or not. I think he's pulling a prank on everyone.
I'm surprised, but at the same time, again, we don't know for sure if that's actually true or if it's gonna happen. If it does, great for him.
It's weird, that decision for me, but I think sometimes you have to stop to smoke.
The 52-year-old rapper has embraced cannabis use for most of his career, but it wasn't quite clear from his post whether pot use was what he was referring to.
I think he is referring to smoking cannabis.
Dr. Michael Chayton of CAMH says Snoop Dogg was known for smoking blunts, cannabis wrapped in tobacco.
The story is that he is stopping because of his grandchild.
And Chayton says there are many programs, including at CAMH, to deal with cannabis cessation, just like for other substances. Will it influence fans?
If he does stop smoking weed, that he'll definitely have an impact on the younger generation now.
I even saw this morning on Instagram, there's another pretty big rapper who said when he saw the news, he was going to quit as well.
Dr. Chayton says there is no danger in quitting cold turkey, but it can bring on symptoms like cold sweats and sleeplessness. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
It's Trans Awareness Week, and one of Toronto's top photographers is marking the occasion with a special exhibit. Jack Jackson, seen here with his dog Jet, is the co-founder of the Don't You Want Me project. It features images showcasing the bonds between rescue dogs and their LGBTQ2S+ owners, and the transformative power of love, support, and connection. Jackson says the photos are a celebration and reminder of community members' resilience, joy, and strength.
I get to know them before the photo session, so, it can be very vulnerable, so I want them to be completely at ease with me. We have the photo session, and then we write their story together.
The photos are on display at the Pet Value store in Leslieville. Jackson will be there tomorrow from 10 to noon, to talk about the project and meet with anyone interested in being a part of it.
Just weeks after releasing his latest album, Drake surprised fans by dropping even more music at midnight.
I know I could go and disappear for whatever, 6 months, a year.
The Toronto artist shared the news with this trailer yesterday evening, titling the new project Scary Hours 3. The announcement video features several shots of the city and an assist from the Toronto Symphony Orchestra.
And a few months after announcing it, Dolly Parton is out with her new rock album titled Rockstar. The 30-track LP is Parton's first attempt at a rock album after a legendary career on the countryside. It features 9 original songs and 21 covers. Parton said she took the project on after she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year, and she said she wanted to earn that honor. The trailer is out for a documentary delving into a moment in Star Wars history that's often hidden in outer space, the 1978 holiday special.
So funny and so stupid at the same time.
We have seen something that we weren't supposed to see.
Several celebrities weighed in on the documentary titled A Disturbance in the Force. It tells the behind-the-scenes story of the special, which was so badly received it aired just once and never surfaced again. The doc is out next month.
The latest movie in the Hunger Games franchise is hoping to take flight at the weekend box office.
Fueled with the terror of becoming prey. See how quickly we become predator?
The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a prequel to the original Hunger Games books and films. Deadline reports it brought in nearly $6 million US in Thursday night previews. Its main competition includes last week's #1, The Marvels. Grey Cup weekend is upon us. After the break, expert insight into Sunday's showdown between the Blue Bombers and Alouettes, plus some comfort for the ousted Argos as they rake in the CFL awards.
On the next CP24 Breakfast,
star Alan Tudyk shares a sneak peek at Wish, the new animated Disney musical.
That's on the next CP24 Breakfast, up first at 5:30.
At the end of the day, my God, come on, stop it, folks. And I hope the people that are making these threats are brought to justice.
Updating our top stories, Toronto police are investigating another incident targeting Toronto's Jewish community. The Tannenbaum Community Hebrew Academy of Toronto received a bomb threat today. The school was evacuated and nothing of concern was found. This follows a hoax bomb threat call at a Thornhill Islamic Community Center and Mosque last night.
The city's winter plan is and has always been atrociously inadequate.
Criticism today from homeless advocates as we head into the colder months. They're urging the city to expand access to safe indoor spaces, among other recommendations. Some new facilities will open this winter, but officials say Toronto is already short on resources as it faces an influx of refugees in the shelter system.
It is the single largest seizure of crystal methamphetamine and powder cocaine in the history of the Toronto Police Service.
And Toronto police are showing off the spoils of a drug investigation dubbed Project Finito. They say 551 kilograms of cocaine, 441 of crystal meth were seized as they investigated a trafficking network in the GTA. 7 people face charges. Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
There are signs higher interest rates are having their intended effect. According to new data, Canadians are slowing down on their borrowing. BNN Bloomberg's Jacqueline Hansen has the details.
As home sales drop, growth in mortgage debt in this country is also slowing. New StatsCan data shows in September, compared to a year earlier, mortgage debt grew by 3.2%. Compare that to jumps of 10% back in 2021 and 2022, when real estate sales surged. It's one of the fastest decelerations in credit growth going back to the early 90s. Canadians are also trying to pay down some debt. Outstanding balances on home equity lines of credit decreased in September, though credit card debt increased. That is the latest in business. I'm Jacqueline Hansen of BNN Bloomberg.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar traded higher, 27 points to settle at 72.92 U.S. American benchmark oil was up $2.95 to close at 76.04 a barrel. And the TSX Composite Index gained 122 points to end the day at 20,175.
The Toronto Maple Leafs rallied this afternoon to win their first game in Sweden, and a local favorite played a key role.
Marner throws it back in front. Nylander scores! William Nylander, power play goal!
Swedish citizen William Nylander tied the game after Toronto fell behind 2-0. Then captain John Tavares scored the winner with about 5 minutes left. The Leafs have now won 3 straight. They wrap up their part of the NHL's Global Series Sunday morning against Minnesota.
The Toronto Raptors will play their first in-season tournament game tonight when they tip off against the Boston Celtics. Teams play 4 group stage games, which still count toward the regular season standings, then move on to the knockout round. The prize pool includes $500,000 for each player on the winning team. Well, the countdown is on to Sunday's Grey Cup game at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are the clear favorites, but the man who's calling the game says don't count out the Alouettes.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they won back-to-back. They nearly beat the Argos last year, losing in the final minute by a point. So they've had this dynasty going on. If they can win this year, if they win on Sunday, that'd be 3 and 4 years. Montreal, in some ways, kind of came out of nowhere. They were not a favorite by just about anybody at the start of the season, but they steadily improved. They haven't lost a game since the Argos beat them back in mid-September, and boy, did they ever get the revenge last Saturday at BMO Field when they not only beat them, they beat them so decisively because of an outstanding defense. So they have a lot of momentum coming into this game against Winnipeg.
The two teams both practiced today before Sunday's showdown. It'll be the first time in CFL history they face each other in the championship game.
And fans across the country are awaiting kickoff to see who will be crowned champions of the Canadian Football League. You can watch it all live on TSN Sunday at 6. TSN and CTV News are both divisions of Bell Media.
Tonight, the lingering effects of too much screen time.
We're seeing anxious kids, depressed kids.
What scrolling for hours is doing to kids' brains. That's later on CTV National News.
Hey
Hey, Toronto, I'm Nicole Cervinas.
And I'm Teddy Wilson, and welcome to Things to Know TO.
Each week, we shine a spotlight on a wide variety of local businesses, services, events, and initiatives from across the GTA.
And if you or your company would like to be featured, you can contact our team by email at thingstoKnowTO@bellmedia.ca.
And don't forget, join us on Saturday mornings on CP24, CTV, and CTV2.
And hey, why not follow us on social at Things to Know TO.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas in Washington, D.C.
The giant tree arrived at the U.S. Capitol today. It may not look like much now, but soon the Capitol Christmas tree will be dazzling. It's going to be lit with thousands of LED lights and handmade ornaments from the Shawnee tribe in West Virginia. This year's tree came from a national forest there. It's being set up on the west front lawn of the Capitol, where crews will soon begin decorating the 65-foot Norway spruce. Huge.
Another tree, another day, another tree going up. I wonder if a lot of people are going to take the time to actually put Christmas decorations up this weekend because of the weather.
Listen, I think the weather, again, is cooperative for the most part if you want to get outside and maybe decorate your home, your balcony, whatever it is that you choose to do, especially tomorrow. Nice looking day, seasonal and sunny. Here's a look at what you can expect. Daytime high, 7 degrees. Let's not get too used to temperatures like this either, though, because through the middle part of next week, we're in for a little bit of a cool down. It looks like this is going to become more of a regular thing that we experience daytime highs in the mid to low single digits. And look in the long range, overnight lows below freezing as well. Chance of wet flurries as a result. Michelle and Nathan.
Good to know. Thank you, Lindsay. Well, that's it for us, but be sure to join Heather Wright tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.